With Trump's immigration crackdown ramping up in 2025, undocumented immigrants across the U.S. are facing mass deportations like never before. Stricter enforcement, new policies, and expanded ICE operations are making certain states, especially hostile environments for illegal immigrants. But where is the crackdown hitting the hardest? Today on Globe Discoveries, we're counting down 10 states where illegal immigrants are facing the toughest crackdowns under Trump's policies. From tougher state laws to increased deportation raids, these places are becoming increasingly difficult for undocumented residents to remain. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more engaging content. Number 10. Georgia. Georgia has intensified its collaboration with federal immigration authorities, leading to a significant increase in deportations. The state has expanded programs that deputize local law enforcement to perform immigration enforcement duties, resulting in heightened scrutiny of immigrant communities. These measures have sparked debates about civil rights and the impact on community trust in law enforcement. Advocacy groups express concerns over potential racial profiling and the erosion of trust between immigrant communities and police. Critics argue that such policies may deter immigrants from reporting crimes or seeking public services, thereby compromising public safety. Despite these concerns, state officials assert that these measures are essential for upholding the rule of law and ensuring public safety. The agricultural sector, heavily reliant on immigrant labor, faces labor shortages due to increased deportations. Farmers report difficulties in finding workers, leading to economic disruptions in rural areas. Georgia's approach underscores the complex balance between enforcement and economic considerations. Community leaders advocate for more compassionate immigration policies that consider the contributions of immigrants to the state's economy and culture. They call for comprehensive immigration reform at the federal level to address underlying issues. Georgia's experience highlights the multifaceted challenges of immigration enforcement. As the state continues its stringent policies, the long-term social and economic impacts remain a subject of ongoing debate. The situation in Georgia serves as a microcosm of the national discourse on immigration. Number 9. North Carolina. North Carolina has enacted laws mandating cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration agencies, leading to increased detentions and deportations, particularly in areas with large immigrant populations. Advocacy groups have raised concerns about racial profiling and the erosion of trust between immigrant communities and the police. The state's policies have led to heightened fear among immigrant communities, with many individuals avoiding interactions with law enforcement and public services. Critics argue that such measures undermine public safety by discouraging crime reporting and cooperation with authorities. Despite these criticisms, proponents assert that strict enforcement is necessary to uphold immigration laws. Economic sectors dependent on immigrant labor, such as agriculture and construction, are experiencing workforce shortages due to increased deportations. Employers report challenges in filling positions, impacting productivity and economic growth. The state's approach highlights the tension between enforcement policies and economic realities. Community organizations are working to provide support and resources to affected families, advocating for policies that balance enforcement with humanitarian considerations. They emphasize the importance of protecting human rights and maintaining community cohesion. North Carolina's experience reflects the broader national debate on immigration enforcement. As the state continues its current trajectory, the long-term social and economic consequences remain a focal point for policymakers and advocates alike. The situation underscores the need for comprehensive immigration reform at the federal level. Number 8. Arizona. Known for its strict immigration laws, Arizona continues to lead in deportation efforts. The state has implemented policies that empower law enforcement to question individuals about their immigration status during routine stops, leading to increased deportations. These practices have been controversial, with critics arguing they promote discrimination and violate civil liberties. The state's approach has led to legal challenges and widespread protests, with opponents citing concerns over racial profiling and human rights violations. Despite this, Arizona officials maintain that such measures are crucial for maintaining public safety and deterring illegal immigration. The state's policies have become a focal point in the national debate over immigration enforcement. Economic implications are also significant, as industries reliant on immigrant labor, such as agriculture and hospitality, face labor shortages. Businesses report increased operational costs and difficulties in maintaining productivity. Arizona's stringent policies highlight the complex interplay between enforcement and economic stability. Community organizations are actively working to support affected individuals, providing legal assistance and advocating for policy reforms. They emphasize the importance of humane treatment and the protection of civil liberties. Arizona's experience serves as a case study in the challenges of balancing enforcement with human rights. As the state continues its aggressive stance, the long-term social and economic impacts remain a subject of ongoing analysis and debate. The situation in Arizona reflects broader national trends and tensions in immigration policy. Number 7. Alabama. Alabama has adopted some of the nation's harshest immigration laws, resulting in a surge of deportations. The state requires law enforcement to verify the immigration status of individuals during traffic stops and arrests, leading to increased detentions. These policies have faced legal challenges and sparked debates about their constitutionality and impact on human rights. The state's stringent measures have created an atmosphere of fear among immigrant communities, with many individuals avoiding public spaces and services. Critics argue that such policies lead to racial profiling and undermine community trust in law enforcement. Despite these concerns, state officials assert that strict enforcement is necessary to uphold the law. Economic sectors, particularly agriculture, are experiencing labor shortages due to increased deportations. Farmers report significant challenges in finding workers, leading to reduced productivity and financial losses. Alabama's approach highlights the economic consequences of aggressive immigration enforcement. Community advocates are working to provide support to affected families and are calling for more compassionate immigration policies. They emphasize the contributions of immigrants to the state's economy and culture. Alabama's experience underscores the need for a balanced approach to immigration enforcement. As the state continues its current policies, the long-term social and economic impacts remain a critical area of concern and discussion. The situation in Alabama reflects the broader national debate on immigration. Number 6. Florida. Florida has intensified its deportation efforts in 2025, driven by new state legislation mandating full cooperation between local law enforcement and ICE. Governor Ron DeSantis has prioritized immigration enforcement, deploying resources to crack down on undocumented individuals and banning sanctuary policies across the state. These measures have significantly increased deportations, particularly in immigrant-heavy areas like Miami and Orlando. Immigrant communities have reported heightened fear and mistrust, with many individuals avoiding public spaces and services to avoid detection. Advocacy groups argue that these policies disproportionately affect hardworking individuals and families who contribute to Florida's economy. Critics also point to the emotional toll on children left behind after their parents are deported. Florida's tourism and agriculture industries, both reliant on immigrant labor, are already experiencing labor shortages. Employers are struggling to fill positions, leading to operational disruptions and economic strain. This economic impact has sparked debates over whether the state's strict immigration policies are sustainable in the long term. Supporters of these measures argue that strict enforcement is necessary to uphold the law and prioritize public safety. However, opponents highlight the need for humane immigration policies that balance enforcement with compassion and economic pragmatism. Florida's approach serves as a microcosm of the broader national debate over immigration reform. As deportation rates climb, Florida's immigrant communities continue to navigate the challenges of living under such stringent policies. The state's aggressive stance has positioned it as a leader in mass deportation efforts, but at what cost to its social and economic fabric remains to be seen. Number 5. Texas. Texas leads the nation in mass deportation efforts, leveraging its proximity to the border and vast resources to enforce federal immigration laws. Operation Lone Star, a state-led initiative, has ramped up deportation rates by deploying state troopers and building detention facilities. Governor Greg Abbott has positioned Texas as a model for other states in cracking down on undocumented immigration. The state's policies have created a climate of fear among immigrant communities, with many families living in constant anxiety about deportation. Advocacy groups have reported a rise in racial profiling and discrimination as local law enforcement intensifies efforts to identify undocumented individuals. These measures have sparked legal challenges and protests, highlighting the human cost of aggressive enforcement. Economically, Texas's agriculture and construction sectors, which rely heavily on immigrant labor, are feeling the strain of labor shortages. Employers report difficulties in maintaining productivity as deportations remove a significant portion of the workforce. Critics argue that while enforcement is necessary, Texas's approach risks undermining its economy and social cohesion. Proponents of the state's policies claim they are essential for maintaining border security and deterring illegal immigration. They argue that strict enforcement sends a clear message about the importance of upholding immigration laws. However, opponents emphasize the need for federal immigration reform to address the root causes of migration. Texas's role as a leader in mass deportation efforts reflects the state's broader political priorities and stance on immigration. The long-term implications of these policies will shape the state's economy, communities, and national reputation. Number 4. Mississippi. Mississippi has taken a hardline approach to immigration enforcement, conducting some of the largest workplace raids in U.S. history. In 2025, the state will double down on these efforts, targeting industries such as poultry processing and manufacturing where undocumented immigrants are commonly employed. These operations have led to mass detentions and deportations, leaving immigrant communities devastated. The raids have sparked widespread fear among immigrant families, many of whom avoid public spaces and services. Critics argue that the state's aggressive tactics disproportionately harm individuals contributing to the local economy. The emotional toll on families, particularly children left behind, has drawn condemnation from advocacy groups and human rights organizations. Mississippi's labor market is also feeling the effects of these deportations, with employers struggling to fill positions. The state's economy, which relies heavily on immigrant labor, faces disruptions as businesses adapt to the sudden loss of workers. These challenges highlight the economic trade-offs of aggressive immigration enforcement. Supporters of Mississippi's policies argue that the state is taking necessary steps to deter illegal immigration and protect American jobs. However, opponents emphasize the need for more humane and sustainable immigration solutions. The state's approach has ignited debates about the balance between enforcement and economic growth. As Mississippi continues its mass deportation efforts, the social and economic repercussions remain a topic of national concern. The state's actions serve as a stark example of the human and economic costs of stringent immigration policies. Number 3. Arizona. Arizona has long been at the forefront of strict immigration policies, and 2025 is no exception. The state's enforcement measures, including partnerships with ICE and controversial laws like SB 1070, have led to a surge in deportations. Border security initiatives have intensified, making Arizona one of the most challenging states for undocumented immigrants. The impact on immigrant communities has been profound, with many individuals avoiding interactions with law enforcement or public services out of fear of detention. Critics argue that these policies promote racial profiling and erode trust between communities and law enforcement. Advocacy groups have called for reforms to ensure the protection of civil liberties. Economically, Arizona's agriculture and hospitality industries are grappling with labor shortages as a result of mass deportations. Employers report rising costs and declining productivity, adding to the debate over the state's immigration policies. These economic consequences highlight the broader implications of aggressive enforcement. Supporters of Arizona's approach claim that the state is prioritizing public safety and border security. They argue that strict enforcement is necessary to address illegal immigration and protect the state's resources. However, opponents emphasize the need for comprehensive federal immigration reform to address the root causes of migration. Arizona's role in mass deportation efforts underscores the complexities of balancing enforcement, economic stability, and human rights. The state's actions continue to shape the national conversation on immigration policy. Number 2. Tennessee. Tennessee has emerged as a key player in mass deportation efforts in 2025, enacting laws to strengthen cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. The state has implemented policies requiring officers to verify the immigration status of individuals during routine stops, leading to an uptick in deportations. These measures have drawn mixed reactions, with some praising the state's tough stance and others condemning the policies for promoting fear and division. Immigrant communities in Tennessee have reported feeling increasingly marginalized, with many avoiding public spaces and interactions with authorities. Advocacy groups highlight the emotional toll on families, particularly children, who are left behind when parents are deported. Critics argue that these policies discourage immigrants from seeking essential services, compromising public health and safety. Economically, industries reliant on immigrant labor, such as manufacturing and agriculture, have been hit hard. Employers report significant labor shortages, leading to reduced productivity and rising costs. These economic challenges have sparked debate over whether the state's policies are sustainable in the long term. Supporters of Tennessee's strict enforcement argue that the measures are necessary to uphold the rule of law and ensure fairness in the labor market. However, opponents emphasize the need for humane immigration policies that protect the rights and dignity of individuals while addressing labor needs. The state's approach reflects the complexities of balancing enforcement with economic and social considerations. As Tennessee continues its mass deportation efforts, the broader implications for its economy and communities remain a topic of national discussion. The state's actions highlight the urgent need for comprehensive immigration reform to address these challenges holistically. Number 1. Nevada. Nevada has become a surprising leader in mass deportation efforts in 2025, with state officials adopting aggressive policies to address undocumented immigration. The state has ramped up workplace raids and strengthened partnerships with federal immigration agencies, resulting in a sharp increase in deportations. These actions have drawn both support and criticism, reflecting the polarized nature of the immigration debate. Immigrant communities in Nevada, particularly in cities like Las Vegas and Reno, are experiencing heightened fear and uncertainty. Advocacy groups warn of the negative social impacts, including family separations and increased mistrust between immigrants and authorities. Critics argue that these policies disproportionately target hardworking individuals who contribute to Nevada's economy and society. Nevada's tourism and hospitality industries, which rely heavily on immigrant labor, are facing significant workforce shortages as a result of these deportations. Employers are struggling to fill positions, leading to operational disruptions and rising costs. These economic challenges have sparked calls for more balanced approaches that consider the state's labor needs. Supporters of Nevada's strict policies argue that the state is prioritizing public safety and setting an example for other states. They claim that these measures send a clear message about the importance of adhering to immigration laws. However, opponents emphasize the importance of comprehensive solutions that address the root causes of migration while safeguarding human rights. As Nevada continues its aggressive stance on immigration enforcement, the social and economic consequences of its actions remain a focal point for policymakers and advocates. The state's approach highlights the broader challenges of balancing enforcement, economic stability, and compassion in addressing immigration issues. These 10 states represent the forefront of mass deportation efforts in 2025, each adopting policies that have reshaped immigrant communities and sparked national debates. From economic disruptions to human rights concerns, the impacts of these measures are far-reaching and complex. What do you think about these developments? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos for more insights on global and domestic issues. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay informed and engaged.